Okay, so hello everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about what, in my opinion, might be one of the most revolutionary theories of all time. The title is a little bit clickbaity, but we'll get to that in a second. In any case, this is an unscripted video, so if there's interest, if I can perceive that there is in any way even the slightest amount of interest in this topic, then I will make more videos about it in a more professional manner. But until that day comes, I'd like to just sit here for a few minutes and have a casual talk about what I think is a very important topic. I have here some peanut butter chocolate milk stout, so we can crack into this and have a quick chat. It's good. So, why you should not use air conditioning. Am I actually going to tell you not to use air conditioning? It depends. It's a complicated topic. Here is the main problem with air conditioning. What does air conditioning actually do? Air conditioning is a tool. It lowers the temperature of the air inside of a room. Okay, quite simple. That's the whole purpose. If it's too hot inside of the room for human comfort or safety, we lower it. And of course, there are uses for this, legitimate uses. Okay, if you're working in a hot kitchen, you know, that can be dangerous for the employees. We want to lower that, or a factory or something like this. Or even if you live in certain parts of the world, you know, if you live in Dubai, of course, yes, you need air conditioning. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from people saying, you don't know what it's like, you're not from a hot climate, blah, 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 blah. Hold your horses. I know what I'm talking about here. If you're in Dubai, yes, you can use air conditioning. The caveat is, the nuance is, you should be using less air conditioning than you are now, almost certainly. Why? Because the vast majority of people who use air conditioning put it far, far, far too low. Okay? What is the problem with this? We as people today in our modern society spend the majority of our time indoors. Okay? We spend most of our time at work, or at school, or at home, or in the store, or in any other place, basically in buildings. We are in buildings the vast majority of the time, yes? Now, that means if you're spending the vast majority of your time in a place that is kept at a very low temperature, your body is going to necessarily acclimate to that temperature. There are exceptions, actually, I shouldn't say necessarily, but in the majority of cases, your body's going to acclimate to a lower temperature than it otherwise would have been used to, okay? This is a problem, okay, because you cannot make it hotter or colder outside. We can try to make it hotter outside in the long term with, you know, global warming and this kind of thing, but you can't just arbitrarily at any point in time alter the outdoor temperature. You can inside, but not outside. So why am I saying that? I seem, you know, like I'm rambling, but if you are used to a certain temperature all the time inside. Let's take, for example, 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. If it's always 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit inside every building that you're in, your body will be used to that. What happens when you go outside and it's 30 degrees? You're going to feel hot. You're going to sweat, right? You're going to be uncomfortable, most likely. I experienced this myself when I was younger. When I was younger, I did not wear that much clothing outside. I wore, you know, enough to be decent, obviously, but I was one of those kids in the winter waiting for the bus in December or January, snow on the ground, it's cold outside, but I was wearing a t-shirt and I honestly felt fine. A lot of people thought I was trying to show off and be a tough guy or something. I just legitimately was not cold. But what did that have in negative effects? Well, I got hot very, very easily in the summertime, or even not in the summertime necessarily. Just to give some concrete numbers, I can recall it being around 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius outside and walking up hills in, I don't know, t-shirt and jeans. And I'm not a particularly, you know, large person. I'm kind of skinny, actually. I think if I remember correctly, I should have written this down beforehand. I'm 6'2" and I'm about 170 pounds, something like this. 165, 170. I'm kind of skinny, actually. But because my body was so acclimated to these temperatures, to such low temperatures, I got hot easier. Now, compare that to what I'm wearing now. Look how much I'm wearing now. A lot. I'm not going to show you what I'm wearing. I have this jacket on. I have a hoodie. I am wearing 2 sweaters. These are made of wool, and then I have thermal underwear on underneath, and I have leggings on also. What temperature is it outside, do you think? Do you think it must be what? I don't know. It must be 25 degrees Fahrenheit, or it must be 30 degrees Fahrenheit, or it must be 0 Celsius or something. No, it's 73 degrees outside Fahrenheit. That's about 20, I don't know, 23-ish degrees Celsius. The good news is, where I live, just in this place that I live now, I don't live in the U.S. anymore. Culturally, in this area, a lot of people kind of overdress for the weather compared to Westerners, so I'm not too out of place right now. A little bit, but my point is, am I hot? No, not at all. In fact, what is this? 28.8 degrees Celsius. I'm upstairs. I have the AC on. It's on heating mode at 30 degrees, as you can see. Downstairs, it's actually even a little bit warmer because I don't come upstairs that often. I only came up here because it's a nice place to film. So, how how does that come to be? Am I just sick? Am I just anemic? No, I'm not. I'll tell you a story. I used to live in Germany. I studied abroad in Germany for 1 year. This was 2018. Well, 2017 to 2018, the school year. I was an exchange student when I was in college. And there was no air conditioning in Germany. It's very rare. I think I heard it's slowly starting to be installed in offices and things, but for the vast majority of people and in private homes, it's still very rare. There was a heat wave. It was extremely hot in Germany. I was miserable. I couldn't do anything ever. I would just sit in my apartment all summer. My arms would just stick to everything. I had a fan blowing on me the whole time. I couldn't sleep ever. It was a nightmare. It was miserable. I won't go into too much details, but my point is that was a miserable experience for me. So what did I decide to do? I decided, okay, when I get home, this is enough is enough. I can't deal with this. I was in the U.S. There was air conditioning there, but I said to myself, and I came to this conclusion slowly over time, why don't I make it so that I'm always comfortable? Always, no matter what the temperature, right? You hear this thing about women in offices. Women in offices often complain about feeling very cold compared to men because men, well, there's 2 reasons. One is men culturally kind of have an expectation to wear more clothing in offices than women. In formal situations, at least, they can wear suits and things, whereas women are allowed to get by with a lot less. That's, of course, part of the reason. But there is another reason, which is, of course, that men's bodies are just naturally prefer slightly lower temperatures than women. Okay? But what is what do women have to hear whenever they complain about being too cold inside? Or if you're too cold at home, what does your dad say to you when you try to turn the thermostat up? What is the immediate response? You can always put on more clothing. You can always put on more clothing. You can always add another layer, right? So I said to myself, okay, it's kind of true, actually. It's kind of not a bad point, actually. Why don't I try to apply that? Take that and apply it to other situations, not just inside, but outside, okay? So if it's cold outside, you can always add more. And again, because I know I'm going to get tough guys in the comments saying, hello, I'm Canadian. You don't know what you're talking about. It's always cold no matter what you do. Or I'm from Alaska. No, I lived in a place where it got down to minus 40 degrees in the winter. And that's the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius, minus 40. Not that often. It was like minus 30 Celsius or 25 Celsius for the low temperature in January usually, or for the lowest, but there were cases where we get to minus 40. So I know what cold is. I know what cold is, and I still stand by my claim. You can always add more. You might be wearing so much that you can hardly move your arms, but you can always add more. So, what is I forgot what I was about to say. Take a drink of beer. Relax, we're friends, we're having a conversation here. My theory was, okay, how about if I just, after I got back home from college, always start adding more and more clothing slowly over time. We're not going to make this some immediate thing. I didn't have on this much at that point, but just slowly. increase the amount and increase the indoor temperature. Hence the title of this video, why you shouldn't use air conditioning. Again, there are cases where it's necessary, but you don't need to use it as much. You don't need it on 68. Maybe try, I would say 85 is perfectly fine to me personally, but I understand most people are not going to go as radical, go as far as I have, or take as radical measures as I have. If you want to try 75 instead, that's probably better for most people. But this took me a couple years. That was about 3-4 years ago. I just kept adding more clothing, and just over time, yes, now I'm always cold. Not always cold, I'm comfortable now, but always, very rarely do I ever get hot. I don't struggle with the heat. I was out this summer, it was 35 degrees Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit. Sometimes even more on some days. I would go out in t-shirt, jeans, nothing, not a drop of sweat on my body. So that is something that you can do, and that would be my plea to the world. Why should we do this? Well, you can, number one, for yourself. It's good for yourself. You can make it so you're always comfortable no matter what. You can always add more in the winter. You can't take off more in the summer. You can enjoy your summer. My family back home, where I'm from Maryland. It's not really that hot in the summer. Really, it really isn't. I mean, upper 80s, low 90s, usually. I mean, sometimes it's a little hotter, but not usually. It's a little humid, I guess. But my family stays inside the entire summer. They don't go outside that much because it's just too hot. They prefer to just stay inside with the AC. That's bonkers. That's insanity. You're losing months of every year. That's months of your life, or years of your life in the long run that you're losing, that you can't spend outside. You can't do what you want to do because of this. They go out in the winter. They still go out in the winter, just not in the summer. Why not make it so you can go out in summer and the winter? And then, of course, there are other concerns. Okay, you'll save money. Maybe. Depends. I mean, I'm using heating right now, but so that would cost money, obviously. It's better for the environment. Again, heating is not necessarily better for the environment. It depends. And air conditioning can be bad for the environment. I mean, not in and of itself. It's bad because it uses a lot of electricity. If we were to switch to purely renewable energy, then it would be better, I guess, or it wouldn't be harmful at all, really. But as things stand now, that's not the case. So it would be better short term to switch. But again, my main concern here is make it so everybody can be comfortable no matter what, or at least the highest number of people possible. Again, I know I'm going to get people. I've had this discussion many times with people before. I get people saying things like, well, my dad needs air conditioning because he has a heart problem and his heart will swell up and explode if he doesn't use air conditioning. Okay, then your dad can use air conditioning. Do you have that problem, though? No, you don't, so don't worry about it. It's kind of a difficult thing where, somebody suggests behavior for people in society to change. I suggest a behavioral change, and all of a sudden people will say things like, you can't do that. That won't apply to literally 100% of the population without any single exception. Okay, fine. It's like if I said, maybe you should ride your bike to work instead of driving a car, and you say, actually I'm in a wheelchair. I can't, and my legs don't work. I can't, ride a bike. I need somebody to take me in the car. Okay, then do that. Not trying to insult you personally. I'm saying for the majority of people in the majority of cases, this is a behavioral change that would have positive benefits. Of course, there are people who can't do that, and that's fine for them. But that's that. I've been rambling. I'd like to produce some more longer form videos, some more well-produced, scripted, edited videos in the future about this topic. But this is just kind of my short little introduction to this. This is something that I think about a lot, and I've tried to convince people about this. I kind of find most people are unreceptive to change about this. They get very offended, and they say, well, you don't want me to be comfortable. No, I do want you to be comfortable. I want you to be always comfortable. Or they'll say things like, I don't care because I'm always inside no matter what. Okay, but I mean, you're making other people uncomfortable too because they have to deal with the fucking air conditioning inside, Let's just think about this. Food for thought. Let me take a swig of my drink and then we'll go. So have a happy, have a good day. This is a good video about my air conditioning theory, but that's just a game theory.